Well, wow, isn't this technology fantastic?
When it works.
Yeah, that's right. COVID has taught us something. And yeah, well, let's get cracking. Harvey and Michael, great to have you both. And we want to have a bit of a chat about the upcoming Barnett beef pregnancy sale on December the 2nd. Before actually getting into the sale, let's tell our listeners a little bit about both of you guys. Harvey, GDL, Queensland based. Tell us what's all that about, because we've got a sale in Tasmania.
Yes. Well, that's of course the beauty of technology nowadays, that we do sales where the cattle are located anywhere, and we can sell them anywhere in Australia and anywhere globally now. So yeah, let's work with those systems, and we've been doing that for several years. And of course, with the COVID job have forced acceptability over the last few years. Everybody is a lot more in tune with it now, and happy to work with it. Thank God.
Well, it's fantastic, isn't it? And Michael, you've been across borders, and they're not allowed to go across borders. And Ray White, tell us a bit about that.
Well, Mark, when I first met you, albeit again it was through technology, we've actually never got to shake hands yet. I had my own company in those days, GDSM, and in the ensuing period that you and I originally started doing a bit of business together. I'd sold that business to Ray White, my good friend James Brown, who's got the franchise here in Albury, wanted to join forces with me. So that was a match I looked at very heavily, and worked out that it was going to give us a little bit more reach across the broader part of the country, although we'd been operating in all states except Tassie on the mainland. But it gave us some more depth and some more network and some more reach. And where I was with in my period of my life, it suited me to join forces with James, and we still trade as a separate entity in Ray White GTSM, which is what I always wanted, was my brand to go on and be some sort of a legacy to the industry. And here we are today, again, with the cross-borders restrictions and not being able to go here and there, and us living in the great state of Victoria has made it probably a little more challenging than most. But again, with the technology, it's given us the opportunity to work across borders, and our relationship with Harvey and the GDL team has personally has always been a great joining. We've worked together on quite a few sales and things from in the past, and we've always got along well, got a great respect for each other, and yeah, we get the job done.
Well, it's very exciting. We're looking forward to December the 2nd and to see how it pans out. And you guys have got a substantial footprint in places that are not Tassie. So that's very exciting. And you'll see this picture that we're covering is the picture of the recipient cows that are all pregnant. We know what babies they've got inside them, whether they're boys or girls. And it's taken on our lovely picturesque property at Westbury, which, Harvey, you've been to. You came down and visited us not long ago.
Yes.
Had a look at our operation. Love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, we thoroughly enjoyed our time. I came down with Peter Daniel, our managing director of GDL, and one of the founding partners. Peter Daniel is the D of GDL. And we also bought a very good client of ours called Mick Gibson, who owns a large number of properties in Queensland and the Northern Territory, and sort of their prize property would be Ballou Station, which is fairly well known nationally. Anyway, he came down with us because he was sort of thinking about buying some bulls, and this is an opportunity of looking at what you were doing, and hopefully he'll be a bidder for the bulls, bull embryos on sale day. So anyway, we had a lovely time in Tasmania, and I'd only been there once before, and it brought back a lot of memories. My time going back, of course, to the UK before I came over to Australia, when I saw all those hedgerows again and the green paddocks and smaller fields, as we used to call them, fields over in the UK. I thought I was nearly back in the UK again. Anyway, we called to see all those recips, and they were a top quality line, beautiful, stretchy, big framed heifers, as you can see in the photograph there, and they've slickened off a lot just in the 3 or 4 weeks since we were there. They'll make some really nice Angus breeding females of the commercial side for the future. And I'm sure they're looking after those calves that are inside them. I think they averaged nearly 600 kilos the day we were there when they all went through. And I think you conservatively said that they should be sort of 575 come delivery in January. Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see them, over the 600. So I think you've been conservatively good for future buyers. I think they'll all be very pleased with what they see when they get them.
Well, we try and, I guess, under promise and over deliver.
Yes,
we're thrilled with them. They're a very fine looking group of females. And Harvey, you took back to Queensland some alcohol as well, because we had a lot of fun down here, and we did visit a distillery, and that's all part of coming to Tassie and enjoying our environment down here.
Right. I actually drank a lot more in Tasmania than I took back to Queensland.
Not the Harvey Weyman-Jones I know.
I love the lifestyle in Tasmania with the way everything is going now towards tourism and food. And you took us to some really nice places. We had lovely restaurants, excellent food, excellent wines, and I am a fan of gin, and was a fan of that before I even came to Australia. I was one of the leaders in Australia to promote that gin was a good drink rather than rum and coke. Anyway, so I was almost in heaven with you, going around the distilleries and checking those out. So yes, I did buy a bottle of gin to take home, and I have sampled it since, and it's just as good as it was when I tasted it with you.
Well, we had a lot of fun. It was great to have you guys here, and particularly good to, for you to immerse yourself in what we're doing, and because it's kind of unusual, but we're in a very unusual market. The cattle market is extraordinary. We haven't seen it like this. It's kind of a once in a lifetime. The season is as good as it's ever been. The cattle prices are as good as it's ever been. Nobody knows how high that's going to be. But what we do know is, and Michael, you'll probably share this view, I would suspect, that whatever you bought as a bull last year for 10 or 15 grand, you're going to be paying 20, 25 and sometimes 30 grand for that same animal. And so, I'm just kind of leading into the value proposition for these recips. Am I on the mark with that?
Oh, definitely, Mark. Yeah, we're at unprecedented times. I mean, nobody I speak to ever recalls anything on a level of this. I mean, depending whether, even when you put things into context of where time's been, this is outstanding times to be in rural Australia, full stop, particularly the beef industry. And as you quite rightly say, what we were paying for bulls, or our clients were paying for bulls, 2 and 3 years ago through to now, we're 20 to 40% on where we were then, and that's reflected through on the female side of our industry and the valuations there. It just continues to rain through the eastern states. I've got clients in Western Australia at a Zoom meeting with the other day. Their paddocks look as green as ours in Victoria. There's certain parts of Queensland, as Harvey will support, have had enormous rain, albeit there are areas that still do require more. It's a time where I think people should be really capitalising on consolidating their programs, getting some new genetics in there, and ramping their job up sensibly, and being prepared for what looks to be a very, very solid future.
Yeah, well, I got to say, for us, what we've seen is we in this marketplace a bigger focus on females. Everybody's wanting to replace females, rebuild their herds, and so it's a matter of what they rebuild that with. And you can go and buy a very expensive bull that may or may not have the data behind it that indicates, you know, how really good it is. We've focused, as you know, with a lot of embryo transplant, with a lot of IVF, and we've focused on the top genetics of the breed, and they're high indexing animals that are high growth, high marbling animals. And Harvey, you've seen the donor herd, you've seen some of the calves. Your impression?
Oh, look, it was so impressive seeing those cows of yours, and you say, well, this is the highest marbling animal in the breed, this is the highest growth animal in the breed, and they weren't extreme in any way, just beautiful, fine females, very breedy, if you get what I mean, and lovely fine necks and sweet head and eye, and good udders and good feet, and just got plenty of stretch about them, and you can see why they would, how they would perform. And looking at the higher marbling females that you have, most of the ones I've seen before have been of the perhaps the little dumpy ones have been the high marbling cows, and but yours were still big, you know, big frame cows and with high marbling. To get both of those traits into your females is exceptional. And then we saw calves on the ground that had been born a few weeks, and there was actually one born on the day we were there, and just the way everything looked, and just absolute high quality, no doubt. Very impressed.
Yes.
I think you touch on a very important point there as to the what you're describing, how you're describing the donor females. I think it's great testament to the program that Mark's putting together to be able to get that wonderful balance of phenotype and performance data, and it's a challenge for any stud master of any breed or any type to bring those things together. And unfortunately, I've only seen a couple of Mark's donor cows that we've sent across from the mainland. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to test out the gin over there, but I will in some stage in the future. But I think that's so important. What you touch on there is the quality and the phenotype of the females, and balanced up with the data, and of course the joinings that they put together. They're they are special joinings, and I just love the balance of what they're putting together.
Well, I got to say, we spend a lot of time trying to work out which bull to go with which cow. It's all individual stuff, and Michael, you sold us, as you say, a couple of those cows from the Eval dispersal, one of which you got particularly excited about. And I think from memory you said, oh gosh, I'd marry her. And I don't know what your wife would have thought of that. It's probably politically not terribly correct, but...
Well, I hadn't met you before, Mark, and we'd spoken on the phone a fair bit, and I was trying to convey to you my thoughts on just what I thought of her as a phenotypical female. You'd done all the homework on the background as far as the data and what she was capable of performing, and here I am, 1,000 k's away, trying to say, well, you're saying, how good is she? And I said, well, quite frankly, if she was human, you'd want to marry her. So when you got her home, I don't know how you got along, but anyway, I think you're pretty happy with her when you got her home anyway.
Well, and I tell you what, she's grown into what we thought she would, and that is she's not a huge cow by any means, but wow, what a natural thickness, softness, great hide, easy doing, and she's got a pedigree that we could. She's probably the most flexible of our donors in terms of what sort of bulls you can put with her. She's got such good balanced data, and she's got a high IMF. Very Angus type of animal, and that's Q78 we're referring to, which is on page 26 of our catalogue. So we did have a laugh about that, and she has grown into a fine looking animal. And Harvey, we haven't talked about yet the young bull. We ummed and ahed about whether to put him in. Rollo, we call him. He's stretchy, he's grown, he keeps on growing like a mushroom. you had a good look at him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, nicely balanced bull. The length I thought was his main feature, and obviously that's why he's weighing and growing so well. I think that he'll develop in thickness as he matures up. He's still quite calfy, immature about his head, so there's plenty of growth there to come. Obviously, his numbers are exceptional, and I think that anybody who wants to buy him as a stud bull is going to make always going to be very, very pleased with when they get him home and when they see how he breeds. He's the umming and an ahhing that we were doing was he hasn't hit his straps yet by any means. As I said, he's still quite immature, and I wondered. I think he'd be worth a lot more money in 12 months' time. But you were happy to put him on the market now, so it's only going to be to the benefit of the buyer.
Yeah, well, it wasn't an easy decision but we wanted to get our brand out there, an animal on the ground that is doing some good stuff, and we thought he was a pretty good example of the capacity of the animals that'll come out of these donor cows, and then we some bulls that we bred the previous year, we've collected some semen on them and compared them with some of the high price bulls that we've enjoyed, been admired this year, and their stats come up trumps. It was probably a pretty cheeky thing to do, to put that up, but we thought, at the end of the day, they are what they are, and so we just wanted to allow people to dare to compare. So at the back of our catalogue is some semen that is available by two of the bulls that we bred a couple of years ago, that are not dissimilar. In fact, they're out of flash sisters, and by discovery, the flash sisters were out of J23, which is one of our key donor cows. And so the catalogue is really a mixed offering right across the board to give you a feel of what we actually do. So we've got our pregnant recipients, and we will know exactly, whether they're going to have a bull or a heifer. So hopefully that is of interest to the buyers. We will know the final mix of that on the last weekend, just before the sale. So in order to find out that detail, please hop on to BarnettAngus.com.au, and we'll have an updated list of the sex of every embryo that's been carried by those recipients.
Mark, I'd just like to congratulate you and your team on your foresight of putting this together. Like, you're taking so much guesswork out of it for the end user or the next person in line, and again, matching it up with such as Harvey's explained how good these recipient females are. I mean, you're not just getting a cow carrying an embryo, or half the guesswork's done. Now you're providing a very good quality recip that's also carrying a guaranteed embryo of whether it be male or female with the genetics that you've put together. So I think your vision in this is to be highly commended and congratulated on, because it just makes it so much easier for the next guy in the chain to make his decision on which way he goes and how he goes about it.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for that. I mean, as you say, there's a lot of work in it, and it's really going to be interesting to see whether the male pregnancies, how they stack up against the female pregnancies. The way prices are, I get a sense that this is the era of cow power. I think the value of our females is going to be finally recognised. We've seen this year a magnificent year of bull prices, of Iceman, Paratrooper Sons and the like, that are all breaking records and justifying those records. When you think about prospective semen sales and the volume that goes through the marketplace. But we've never had the females been you know, standing beside them and saying, well, I'm a $100,000 or I'm a $200,000 female. I think that we're moving towards that environment, which has not been the case previously.
Mark, it sends my mind back to a long time era ago. I remember standing in a show ring, holding a female up against the bull for a supreme exhibit at a show, and the judge saying, well, I've got to give it to the bull because he's got so much more opportunity to expel his genetics through the industry. How much has changed? Hasn't it hard in the time that, you know, a cow's as powerful as a bull in her ability to spread her genetics through the industry? And again, it's what you're doing here and expediting that for the next user.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I've sort of had similar conversations with Wagyu breeders the last couple of years. Back in 2019, I sold a heifer for 280,000, and we then sold another cow in the same sale for 200,000. Having conversations with prospective buyers prior to that, they were saying, well, what they're going to make. And I said, well, you work it out yourself. I said, with the days of IVF now, those cows can go and produce 20 or 30 calves a year. So what average are they going to be out of these top 1% females? You pick the right semen and you're going to get something pretty special. So if a cow can start, that sort of elite donor cow can produce that number of income, you're talking probably potentially, obviously, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year that cow can produce. And with IVF, that will continue on because it's more of a natural way of producing calves rather than with all the drugs. So that's a really good income coming in just from that one cow. I know there's a lot of expense to be incurred to get those calves on the ground, but that's what I was saying. Well, these cows, these top cows should be making $200,000 to $300,000 a piece if you can find the right one. And so we did that in 2019. It's been a bit, it's dropped back a bit in the last 12 months, but I think it's, as you're saying, it's time to catch up again now for these elite females to start making some good money if they come up for sale. And a lot of the problem is the very best females don't come up for sale. They're kept in their own herds. So when you get the opportunity to buy some genetics like you're providing in the next couple of weeks, then any one of these female embryo calves could become the next super cow.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, I've thinking about the development of our herd, we focus so much on our females and the strength of the maternal line. And I know the Americans do as well. And they, over there, they will offer their best cow or best heifer in their sale in order to get people to the sale, which is not something that typically happens in Australia. And I suspect that over time that'll change. But you're right, Harvey, the IVF experience that we've had, we're able to offer quite a volume of really good stuff. And, you know, when you're trying to rebuild your herd, why wouldn't you want to build it within the, you know, the top 10% of the breed? Just seems to make perfect sense. And we've got, as you know, 40 embryos in the sale by 2 bulls that both of those have unbelievably strong maternal background, and that's why we picked them. They're both grandsons of Isabel, Baldridge Isabel Y69, which is one of the most admired cows across the US, and a lot of Australians will know about her. And, you know, to have that sort of capability and accessibility is something that is somewhat unique, I guess. So, you know, we'll see how it all goes.
Mark, just a couple of questions on the mechanics of the sale, and I know these things will be explained quite clearly in your online catalogue and your catalogue in general, but I just think capturing people's attention on a couple of these things straight up might be worthwhile.
Herd or on sell it, and you know, what will its value be? I don't know, $2.5 to $3 grand, somewhere in that zone. And so effectively you're buying the genetics for whatever you pay less that amount. So no, that animal's is the property of the buyer, and we would encourage everybody to, you know, at the fall of the hammer to insure it. We're going to get the animals to Melbourne in the first week in January. They will be fully vaccinated with all the normal scenarios. They have already, because Scott, who does the fattening program for woolies at the recipient end, he does all those vaccinations anyway. We're going to redo them between Christmas and New Year. And they'll be delivered freight-free to Victoria. And then I guess we'll have, Harvey, you'll be coordinating, you know, who goes where and whether we can get an economical load to this part of the country or the other part of the country, depending on who's buying what.
Yeah, and of course, we won't know until after the sale who's bought what. But then, yes, of course, we will. And I hope some remain in Tasmania too. I hope that they can appreciate what you're selling. I hope that not everything comes to the mainland, but yeah, no, we'll coordinate everything as best we can, and be speaking with yourself and of course the buyers, and informing them of when they can take delivery at Melbourne docks, and yeah, it should all be right. And just going again, reiterating what you said about those prices. Yeah, you're buying the recipient female, inside of which is obviously a very high class embryo. So it's on the, basically it's the per head of heifer that you're buying, and what's inside her is of course the jewel in the crown. But so if you happen to get a heifer bidding on, you know, obviously you're bidding online. There's no live auction. We're not doing it lot by lot. You can bid on any particular lot at any particular time. And you get one at the close of the sale that you bought for $10,000. Well, effectively, that's a $3,000 heifer with a $7,000 embryo inside her. You work out your maths as you want, and then that's how you value what you're bidding on.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess in regard to the embryos, they're in packages of 4, 5, or 6, and so for
per embryo.
If you
they will be per embryo in the package. But as far as the live cattle are concerned, they are one lot at a time, one price for that unit.
Correct, correct. Well, gents, look, been great chatting about it. We're very excited. We're looking forward to it, and it's on Elite Livestock, and starts noon on the 1st, December the 1st, finishes noon December the 2nd. Yeah. So I guess unless there's anything else you guys want to add.
We haven't talked about the sires yet.
Oh, goodness.
It's all about the girl power.
All about cow power.
Yeah, we're in power.
Well, Harvey, you know a fair bit about Iceman, because you were the lead in that sale for $225,000.
Well, the man sitting on my right as I'm looking at him is actually the auctioneer that sold him. So both of us, we're joint agents at the Texas sale, have been for many, many years, and that's obviously it was the best sale that we've ever had. Either for me singly, and I'm pretty sure it's definitely together, our joint sales. Yeah, so Iceman, well, we all thought he was pretty good before the sale, and of course quite a few others did so too during the sale, and the bidding was pretty frenetic, and finished up at $225,000. And of course he comes out of that great female line in the Undines, who've just produced bull after bull after bull for generation, either as natural calves or as embryo calves. And it was a brother of his the year before that Michael sold for $108,000. That's that power play bull out of the same cow. So you know, she's done it. As I said, this Undine family has been exceptional for the Texas herd. And then of course you've got the paratrooper, the Millamara bull, who sired those very good. Well, he himself, of course, was a top price bull, record price bull of his age at $160,000. He carried the record price tag until Iceman took over, and then one of Paratrooper's sons, or a couple of sons, made 280 and 240,000 at their sale this year. So all the runs on the board again there. This Paratrooper bull, he's breeding the house down. I think was looked up the stats yesterday of the Miller Marasal. He had 43 sons, averaged nearly 47,000. So, you know, you're looking at these calves inside these cows, you're looking at just conservatively, if you were to say that they're going to be worth $30,000 a piece on the ground, ready to sell at 18 months, 2 years of age. Here's an opportunity to buy right back in now at what I think, you know, obviously I don't think they're going to make that sort of money. I think they'll be sold for less than that, 30,000 an embryo.
Oh, do
you get them for? They're going to be worth some money by the time they've come for sale, yeah. or you breed with them, and so you know, it's here's the opportunity. The other thing I thought of with regard to buying embryos like this, of course, when those calves are born, they won't carry the Barnett tag. They'll carry your tag as the buyer. So you'll have something pretty special as registered under your herd name as far as the buyer is concerned, and that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, you can go straight to the top of the class with your brand on it. Yeah. Those two lead bulls are pretty staggering, aren't they? And one of the reasons we picked them was because of the maternal lines. And there's no doubt that the stories around the community about you know, Paratroopers progeny are all good, and so we're pretty excited about that. And of course we've got a couple of other sires that you know, most Aussies will know, Hometown and GAR Drive and Fireball. The Fireball sons around the community are being heralded as being pretty terrific as well. Certainly across the US, Drive and Hometown has done a sensational job. Hometown particularly topping sales over there all over the place. He's not a big bull, actually. He's probably a bit over frame 5. You know, most people would probably, you know, look at that, his photographs and think, well, gosh, he's a monster. I don't want to get that big. But in actual fact, he's probably one of the thicker, more, what do I say, higher volume bulls to come out of the GAR program. So, and again, the maternal backgrounds on those are as strong as an ox. Yeah, so what else have we missed, gents?
No, I think the only thing, we haven't missed anything. I really think it's a case of be on Elite on those dates, and you know, make sure that you're bidding up and bidding freely, and taking an opportunity that is rare. It's to my mind, Harvey, this is the first time we've seen this style of sale with the sexed embryos. It's cutting edge, front of mind stuff that just got to be a part of.
Yeah, and I also think this appeals to the better end of the commercial bull buyers too. It's not just the stud breeder market here. We've been talking to a few of our clients, and I mentioned the Gibsons earlier on, that depending on price, but instead of going out and buying bulls at you know, $20,000 and $30,000 for the commercial market, here's an opportunity to buy probably better bulls than they would ever have bought before. And obviously they've got the risk of carving them down and growing them out. But I think that they'll work out what price they think they can get these for. And I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of strong, I hope there's going to be a lot of strong support from the commercial end buyer who just wants to, I think will be picking up a bargain in 2 years' time. Of course, hindsight will tell us whether they have or not, but I'm certain that there's going to be value here for the commercial man.
Yeah. Well, look, Harvey, thank you for your input, and Michael for your commentaries too. And it's been been a fun journey being involved with both of you, and it was great having you and the team down here, Harvey. And Michael, we look forward to welcoming you here to see your second wife at some stage.
We won't count them too much, I tell you.
And we'll see you online starting December the 1st and finishing December the 2nd. Gents, thank you very much. It's been fun.
Thank you for being a part of it.
Pleasure. It's an honour to be part of your sale.